Happy New Year, everyone, and welcome into Bears Blitz, brought to you by IGS Energy. Luke Canellis, Anthony Herron. I'm Cassie Carlson. We have reached Week 18. It is the end of the regular season, but it is not the end of the road for the Chicago Bears. They are in the playoffs. The race is on now for what? Hopefully another month. That would be fun if they can do it.
Is that what it is now? Is it a race? Because I know it's been a marathon.
Yeah, it feels that way, right? Yeah. I think that for where this team is at right now, their stamina has been tested, not just physically, but mentally. But I think they've responded really well to get to this point.
Yeah, and they still have more to play for in Week 18 because they are looking to lock up the 2 seed, which they can get if they get the win over the Detroit Lions. We know the Lions routed the Bears in Week 2, 52-21. You look at this Bears team, though, and they are so different from where they were at the beginning of the season. And Ben Johnson's words came to fruition, playing their best football right now in January.
It's amazing to think that 110 days ago, all right, so almost
a long time ago.
Almost 4 months ago.
I'm going to trust your math on that, by the way.
Take my word
Brought out
for
his
it.
calculator.
All right, the Bears got absolutely blown out in Detroit, and all I can remember is Amon-Ra St. Brown running his mouth, dancing on the football field. My opinion, no one took that loss harder than Ben Johnson. He felt it in the heart, to the core, and in the back of his mind, he said to himself, we'll be back at the end of the year.
And they are. They're here on this stage, and the Bears are the team that still has something to play for from a playoff perspective. And, of course, Detroit has been eliminated from the playoff picture. So the last laugh, I think, at the moment, obviously goes to the Chicago Bears. But I see a real benefit in still having something to play for Chicago, because there's other teams around the league that are going to try to decide whether or not they are still going full bore to win the regular season finale if they already have a sense for what their playoff future holds, and maybe facing an opponent who isn't as concerned with their playoff fate. But the Bears still having seeding on the line, I think that matters, because I want this team to be as sharp as they can be going into postseason play.
I definitely believe in momentum carrying over from the end of the season to the postseason. And you don't want to go from Week 18 to trying to make a run in the playoffs coming off 2 straight losses, which the Bears haven't faced now since the beginning of the season. And you talk about seeding. If you're the 2 seed, you're hosting the Packers. If you're the 3 seed, you're going to host the Rams or 49ers. So regardless who the Bears face, their focus is on getting the job done against Detroit.
They're going to come out here and they're going to fight. I mean, it's what they do. And so, it's going to be a good challenge for us. It's a very good team. I mean, this group has talent all over the place. I think defensively we got a tall task at hand, a lot like we did last week. And that's step one. And then their defense is, I get it. They've given up some points over the last few games, but, I mean, they're still a very stout front. And so I think Shep's doing a great job getting those guys going. They play hard, they play fast, and they play physical.
Yeah, I think anytime you lose, you want to get back on track. You want to get back on a winning streak and things like that. And that'd be great for us to, get that going. That's a really good team over there, really good offense, especially. I know they got a bunch of guys down on defense and things like that. But well-coached team, I know they're going to come out and fight. We got to hold our own, and we got to come out and match that energy, if not more.
So in the 2022 season, the Detroit Lions met the Green Bay Packers at Lambeau Field, Week 18. Didn't have anything to play for except for eliminating the Packers from the postseason. They did that and then ended Aaron Rodgers' tenure in Green Bay. And I don't see Dan Campbell allowing Ben Johnson to go into the playoffs without putting up a fight, knowing that the way that the Lions season, a lot of it went the way it did because they lost their offensive coordinator, who is now calling plays in Chicago.
I'll tell you what, I don't agree.
You don't?
Right? And I love the fact that Dan Campbell is saying all the right things. He's also said that as we get closer to game time, we'll find out who's going to win or who's going to play and who's not going to play. Let me reference, because we keep talking about what happened in 2022 when the Lions knocked off Aaron Rodgers and the Packers in that game. This was a far different Detroit Lions team at that time. Yeah. It was a Lions team coming off a 3-13 season. They had gotten off to a 1-6 start. They had not tasted success, and they had players that wanted to prove to their coaches that, hey, we are going to play till the end. Dan Campbell, Ben Johnson. This is a different Detroit team. They have tasted success. They've been to the NFC Championship. They won 15 games last year. I'm sorry, Cassie, if Jared Goff is down 24-0 in the second half to the Bears on Sunday, he is getting the heck out of Dodge.
Okay, that's a different situation, though, from getting off to a fast start from the jump.
Right, I would agree with
From
that.
the jump in the game, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think, but that's another great point. I think that the Bears need to get off to a fast start and really demoralize this team, because if you allow Detroit to get off to a good start, then they start running the football. They're not playing catch-up, and now you got to face that two-headed monster at running back.
I think that, to your point, if the Bears are able to get up big on Detroit, then whether or not Dan Campbell looks for it, you could see some players say, well, is it even worth laying it on the line to perhaps get injured to close the game out? But if it is a competitive game, and even from the opening kickoff, I do think we know who Detroit is at this point. We know what Dan Campbell expects from his roster. Now, does that mean that if Amon-Ra St. Brown isn't really healthy enough to play, that they sort of force feed him into the lineup? I think that, Detroit could factor that sort of thing in to not have one of your best players go into the offseason banged up unnecessarily. But as far as who's healthy, who's going to play, how they game plan for this week, I do see the Lions being in attack mode and just looking for this last opportunity so that their regular season won't really end with a thud.
All right, they do have a ton of injuries in their secondary. No Terrion Arnold, Brian Branch is hurt, along with Kirby Joseph. All those guys are on IR. And it's no secret that Caleb Williams is 270 passing yards away from becoming the first Bears quarterback to throw for 4,000 yards in a single season. Here's what Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams had to say about the potential of him reaching that mark.
If it were to happen, that'd be great. But he would agree with me when I say our number one objective is to win this ball game.
Do you appreciate what that might symbolize, though?
I think it's an arbitrary number. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what would that mean? You tell me.
You're the only franchise to never have a 4,000-yard passer.
Okay. There are probably some that don't have a 5,000-yard passer either, right? So, I mean, it's just a number. So
You're new, but that's kind of a big deal here.
yeah. Apparently it is.
What does that do to drive you in terms of the idea of shattering records and to really assert yourself as at top of the record books here in a lot of ways?
That's a goal of mine, is to be the top of them all. I want to be the best quarterback, not only for Chicago, but in the league. And it's important to me because that's, I don't get up to be mediocre. The self goals and all of that always gets swept under when you go for the team goals. And that's winning ball games. And so that's first and foremost on my mind.
So Ben Johnson does not care if he hits 4,000 passing yards. He doesn't care what Chicago thinks either, but you don't buy it.
Come on,
It's only happened, Caleb's only thrown for more than 270 yards in a game 4 times this season. Do you think deep down they're going to try and get it done?
Absolutely. This is the same man who took his shirt off so we could all eat free hot dogs.
He's a man of the people.
100%. And it means a lot to his quarterback, Caleb Williams, who said it right there, to be a 4,000-yard passer. I've been a lifelong Bears fan. Yeah, I want to see it in my lifetime. It's a big deal. He's been blessed with Jared Goff, or at least he was when he was in Detroit. Make it happen, and make it happen Sunday. You're not that far. 270 is all you need.
I think analytically, logically, Ben Johnson's point is accurate, that it is a bit of an arbitrary number.
But do you believe him, or do you think he was just playing with the media?
I think he's looking forward to that when it happens, and I believe, especially with all the tangible evidence we have at this point, Ben Johnson is very likely confident. There's going to be a number of seasons where he and Caleb Williams combine to have Caleb be a quarterback who throws for 4,000 or more. Whether or not it happens this week, the Bears winning a game, the Bears playing well, you're coming off of the best passing effort the Bears have had this season. Caleb throwing for 330. So I do believe Ben Johnson wants to keep that rolling. Caleb Williams looks to continue to build off of that. But whether it's 398 or 4,002, I don't think they're going to lose a lot of sleep over it. But will it be a nice thing if and perhaps when it happens? Yes.
Will the city of Chicago lose sleep if he is 2 yards short of that? I feel like they're going to be like, they could still be cursed in their minds.
He can break the Bears' passing record without hitting 4,000. So that could still be a very good milestone.
I think that's 108 yards he needs.
Right.
Let me tell you, if he doesn't break Kramer's record, we're in trouble then.
That'll be disappointing.
That can go one or two ways after games like that, right? And I think it kind of shows, where we're at right now of kind of like I said before, man, of just having that belief in one another. It's rare, to have in a team where everyone's on the same page and everyone's understanding what we're trying to get done. So it allows when those things are going wrong, it allows us to kind of come together and make sure that it doesn't stay that way.
TJ Edwards had the pick six on the first play against the 49ers, and then the Bears defense struggled against Kyle Shanahan's offense with Brock Purdy. Dennis Allen also moving past them, giving up 42 points and 496 yards of total offense. But the Lions present a whole slew of challenges with their weapons on offense. However, they are coming off their worst offensive performance of the season, and that loss to the Vikings only put up 10 points. And you know that Ben Johnson, their former play caller, they've gone through play calling changes with Dan Campbell taking it over. Do you feel like this Lions offense led by Jared Goff is they're done for the season?
I do, because it's the only way to explain what happened on Christmas Day. This offense never, since Campbell's been there, has turned over the football like we saw on Christmas Day. They had 6 turnovers. Goff himself fumbled the football 3 times, Big A, and you played the game, but when it comes to fumbling like that, isn't it part of concentration? I just felt like Detroit, and I thought they were going to put forth one of their best efforts of the year because they were still in the playoff talk going into that Christmas Day game, and instead they laid a complete dud.
Jared Goff has been victimized by interceptions at various points in his career, even in the time he's been in Detroit. So he's not necessarily foreign to that, but it did look like a game where the Lions offense wasn't nearly as locked in as we're accustomed to them being, and being eliminated from the playoff picture at this point. It doesn't only impact the way they look on game day, but the preparation during the week, a lack of focus those other 6 days. That's where things can really show up. So even if they take the field Sunday at Soldier Field, if Detroit hasn't been as engaged and trying to be at their peak leading into the contest with Chicago, that's where, misalignments can happen, false starts, things in defense, if your coverage isn't on the same page against this varied Ben Johnson offense. I do think a lack of focus from Detroit could show up, even if it's not the intent on game day, but leading up to the game, it matters a lot.
When you have problems on your offensive line and you're the quarterback and you don't have confidence in the guys up front that they are going to keep you upright, then you go in thinking in the back of your mind, man, I got to get the snap and make sure that I find room because I know that pass rush is getting to me a lot sooner. We're seeing it in their backfield. I mean, their run game for how many years? The last 2-3 years has been top of the game. Ever since they got Jahmyr Gibbs, it's been top 5. This year, it's at the bottom of the league. They can't even run the football anymore.
And early in the year, especially coming off, that second game where Detroit faced the Bears, Jahmyr Gibbs was on this Hall of Fame trajectory. When you just look at the explosive plays he would get, both as a runner and a pass receiver, you get this guy in open space. And he's as electrifying as anyone in the National Football League. It just hasn't been showing up as consistently for Detroit. They've gotten banged up on the offensive line. And so Jared Goff doesn't have the consistency of that rushing attack to be able to lean on, to set up play action. And so he's certainly still more than capable, as are the running backs, but being battered up front, not having Amon-Ra St. Brown at full strength consistently, we're seeing a version of the Lions offense that pales in comparison to what they saw in week 2. This is a Bears defense, though, to your point, Cass, is coming off one of their worst performances of the season.
I want to go back to the Lions turning it over 6 times last week because we know that the Bears lead the league in takeaways. They also have the fewest giveaways in the NFL, which is part of the impressive recipe that we've seen on a lot of these wins. Do you think that is going to be the recipe for going far in the postseason? And although we call this defense maybe a little too opportunistic in that sense, it's worked on their side so far for 18 weeks.
I think if we're being honest with ourselves, yes. I mean, they're 9-0 when they come up with 2 or more takeaways in a game. I mean, the numbers prove it, and they've done a great job. I think they will continue to protect the football like they have all year long. But coming up with those takeaways is so important for this defense because we saw a Niners offense have its way with this Bears defense, and no one's coming to the rescue.
Right.
No one, maybe Kyler Gordon for the playoffs, but other than Kyler Gordon, this is what the Bears have, and they're taking it to the playoffs at this defense, and everyone's a little worried about it. That's why everyone's saying, we'd rather battle a wounded Packers team than the Niners or the Rams.
When I look at the film from the San Francisco game, within the front 7 on defense, and Christian McCaffrey, one of the all-time greats, he's on a Hall of Fame trajectory in his own right. I did see some rust at linebacker. Having Tremaine Edmonds and TJ Edwards available, that's a fantastic thing for the Bears. But they didn't necessarily seem as sharp, and, it is Kyle Shanahan in San Francisco. And so that 49ers offense, with a lot of the eye candy, saw some eye violations for the Bears linebackers where they weren't as decisive, working downhill, peeling some blocks offer the guys up front when there were combos, duo schemes that were working for San Francisco. That to me is where I'm still hopeful that at least if this Bears run defense can show that they can shore some things up, and they haven't been dominant against the run throughout the season. They've certainly, when they've been at full strength, been better than what we saw against the Niners.
A question on that, because Dennis Allen said he didn't coach well enough in that 49ers loss. DeMarco Jackson didn't play a single defensive snap. Is that something where mid-game coaching comes into play and you're like, all right, the linebackers aren't at their peak right now. Do we try something else? Is that an easy adjustment to make?
It's something that did surprise me from the game. And the Bears secondary, where we still see Jalen Johnson trying to round back into form. And so there's a rotation that's happening with the DBs. Linebacker, you can get away with that as well. It gets a bit risky if you're going to have all these bodies rolling in and out on defense. And I think for a guy who's done it as long as DA has, then that's where maybe there's a lack of comfort just having DBs in and out, linebackers in and out. The secondary and the second level of this Bears defense, you do want continuity there. The D-line rolling in and out, that's a necessity for the energy and the physicality it takes to play up front. But start rotating LBs and DBs in a lot. If it's not necessary, then I can see where the concern would be there. But it did surprise me we didn't see DeMarco Jackson.
I'm buying what you're saying about the LBs maybe being a bit rusty, Tremaine Edmonds in particular, because who out there would rather see DeMarco Jackson, all due respect, Jackson's an NFC Player of the Week, but I'd rather see Tremaine Edmonds out there than DeMarco Jackson. And think about what Edmonds was doing before he got hurt.
Yeah.
He was one of the top. He was putting up numbers with the Bears that he hadn't put up in his entire time here in Chicago. And no one knows Jackson better than Dennis Allen because he played for Dennis Allen in New Orleans. So there was a reason. This was me trusting our D coordinator. There was a reason why Jackson wasn't out there, and he was rolling with Edmonds, maybe to give him more time to get used to
knock the rust off.
Exactly, with Edwards, so he's ready for this game on Sunday.
Time for our key matchup presented by Blue Moon. Drew Dahlman is considered the brain trust of the Bears' offensive line and part of the reason why Caleb Williams and the run game have been having success this year. And this week, he goes up against Lions defensive tackle DJ Reader, who doesn't have a single sack on the season, but can make it really tough for a team to open up any running lanes for their backs.
All right, Big A, if they want to stay away from Reader, they want to stay away from Hutchinson. They want to stay away from Ali McNeil, who's still trying to come back off his injury from a couple of years ago. What should the Bears do offensively against Detroit Sunday?
Well, we know that all the motion and misdirection that Ben Johnson uses pre-snap, Caleb has shown so much growth in how he's been able to operate that, orchestrating everything pre-snap. We'll still see the pocket move some, and I think probably in an enhanced way this week versus what we saw last week, because Detroit does have guys who can get after the pocket. So you don't want Caleb to be stationary, but in those predictable downs and distances, we've seen them grow in Caleb's ability to see, to read the full field, and he's throwing with more anticipation than any other stretch in his career.
And worth mentioning, because we haven't said it yet, is that Rome Odunze actually returned to practice on Friday. He has a foot injury that's kept him out the last 4 weeks. He is questionable for the game Sunday afternoon. It's time for your player to watch, brought to you by IGS Energy Week 18. Lou, who are you looking out for?
Come on, we've got to go with Caleb Williams.
Why
there.
not?
All right.
This man had goals. He's going to win 8 Super Bowls. He's going to knock off Tom Brady's record, and he's going to be the first Bears quarterback to throw for 4,000 yards in a game. This is a defensive secondary that has lost Brian Branch, Terrion Arnold, Kirby Joseph. This is a secondary that Caleb Williams will take advantage of. 3 of the last 6 games, that Lions secondary has given up over 366 passing yards a game. Caleb Williams takes advantage of that secondary on Sunday. My only worry is that the Bears run the Lions out of town in the first half and he gets sent to the bench.
All right, the magic number is 270, and this city would erupt if he gets it. That's it for Bears Blitz. We'll see you Sunday for Bears Game Day Live at 9:30.
Don't miss a moment of Chicago sports. Hit subscribe and stay in the game. Highlights, analysis, and all the action from Fox 32 Sports.